Hi team, Dom here. We're gonna go over the Auckland Champs recap for the team. I'm gonna break it up into three parts. First up, we have our junior men or junior boys. Powerlifting junior is up to 23 years old, so I wouldn't really consider them as boys for some of these guys. But in any case, we're gonna have the junior men first. Um, for them, there's a little bit of a mix in terms of competition experience. The first person we're going to go over is Kayin. He's actually this will be his first competition. And then for the rest of them, anywhere between 1 to 3 competition within them. So for the most part, a lot of the goals will be gaining competition experience, learning how the feel of the flow of the competition, the quality of standard of officiating, kind of transitioning into like a gym normie person that enjoys lifting into like an actual competitive power lifter and learning a lot of the standards. PRs, kind of like a given. I know for beginners, a lot of the goals will be like PRs, but in truth, like with beginner gains, it's a little bit of a given, anyways. Um, for me, a lot of the times, I might use these competitions to assess their kind of like their state, their ability to execute, or just like give them an opportunity to execute moderate lifts, moderate percentage lifts, high percentage lifts. You also hear me talk about high percentage lifts, low percentage lifts, and moderate. What that means is not the percentage of their 1RM, it's the percentage of which they'll make the lift, right? So like a high percentage lift would be a lift that would be high degree of certainty that they'll make even in competition standard. Moderate will be a little bit lower than that, and obviously a low percentage lift will be like kind of like a coin flip, maybe less. And you only really take the low percentage lifts when it comes to like perhaps the competition demands that you take a low percentage lifts for like position or anything like that. In the case for these guys, the juniors, probably won't expose them to any kind of low percentage lifts. Probably around a lot of high percentage lifts, a lot of some of them moderate percentage lifts. If I'm trying to assess their ability to execute in competition, and kind of give them opportunity to rise to the occasion, especially these young men. They like having the opportunity to rise to the occasion. Yeah. So without further ado, we'll go on with the competition. So the first one here we have is Kayin. So I've been working with Kayin for almost a year now. Kind of started working with him midway through last year. Um, Kayin is like kind of like a gym rat guy. Um, with like a rowing background. So he's rowed at the high level, national level in New Zealand, which is pretty good, I think, because New Zealand's got a pretty good rowing scene. Um, I don't actually get his first squat on video, so this will be his second squat, and I'll just start playing it in the background here. So his second squat, I have him at 165. Now this number is actually the heaviest he hit in prep. Like 1 week out, he hit 165 for a single. He hits it here, but he actually steps forward before the rack command, and that's actually like a no lift. But again, like because I wanted to assess like his ability to kind of like make adjustment to make lifts, I went up anyways. Now this isn't normally what you would do for someone that's maybe in their first competition, but because Kayin again like has like that rowing high level background, I figured I'd assess or I'd test his ability to make the adjustment and then make the lift once we go up anyways, and which he did. He made 172, which is a weight that he'd never touched before. um, and he made the benches here is a little bit under from what he hit at the gym. So basically he hit 120 at the gym. I believe he hit 117 for his third. I think this is 112 and a half. The reason why is because the 120 in the gym is a touch and go. So again, like transitioning from a gym normie standard to like a competition standard, pausing it. I just wanted to like take a little bit under from what he'd hit in the gym. He's under 66 here, but he's actually like only weighing in at 63 kilos on a day to day. He ate up into this comp a little bit because this is an afternoon comp. So I didn't really expect any kind of other variables to affect his performance apart from the pause. So just shaved off 2.5 kilos there, and then he was able to hit like 117. Next one here is his deadlift, which is, I think, opening at 192. I think when we first started working together, he was like at 180. So again, like junior 66, like he was always gonna make gains, but this is coming along all right for us. He hadn't hit anything more than, I believe, 210 in training, but this is 205 for his second, and that was fine. I think the 192 had a little bit of a bubble at the top, but that's just like a speed management thing at lockout. The 215, he actually moves it pretty well. Now, Kayin was, in theory, just too far for first place, but he earns himself second place here at the 66 junior. Yeah, like first place we'd probably need him to like miss like at least 3 for us to chase him, and that was just like too far. The other person, I think his name's Jonathan Morris. Shout out to him. He actually lifted well and went, I think, close to 9 to 9, if not 9 for 9, and then was just too far for us to reach for first place. Next up, we got here is Ayush. He was in the novice comp last time. The last video that I released of the novice comp. Ayush is, how put this? Ayush is like still pretty much learning like here, right? Like he's still pretty much learning how to execute, trying to make lifts that he'd made in the gym. But I did expose him to some moderate and low percentage lifts here. I know I said I wouldn't, but the main reason why is basically he was in a 5-way battle for third place. It's funny because he's 74 junior. At local meets at that age, 74 junior seems to have a lot of people lifting similar weights. So he was in a bit of a 5-way battle here. So just thought like, oh, hey, like, you know, we're kind of just happy to be in a position where we're actually having to do maths for Ayush. So here we are, we're doing maths for him, exposing him to some lifts that are like moderate, low percentage lifts, just because I want to give him an opportunity. For the squats, he actually like did okay. Like those 2 squat videos there. First one, I believe, was 180, but that was a second attempt, and then third attempt at 185. So that's a 12.5 kilo PB. So I thought, you know, he's looking all right. Maybe, you know, start to push here, but he benched 100 at the gym, but only was able to come away with 97 here. So 12.5 kilo PB on the squat, and then 5 kilo PB on the bench here with 97.5, like comp PB that is, but obviously wasn't unable to hit what he hit at the gym. He hits 200 here for his second attempt deadlift. I figured, you know, like if we want to throw some sort of Hail Mary on the third, he'll need 200 there, but 200 was just way too slow. He tried 210 for placing, but just didn't move. So he still comes away with a 22.5 kilo PB from 4 weeks prior to this competition, 5 weeks prior to this competition. So in 5 weeks was able to put 22.5 kilos to his total. So again, like that's for the most part, that's good, right? But still not quite there from a competitive level, even at the local level at 74 junior. So pretty much still like a work in progress for Ayush. So Nick's one of these guys that I said, like, out of everyone in this video, I've coached for a little while now. So Nick, I think I started coaching him 2020, maybe 2019 actually. And he came to me again like as a young junior. So he has a little bit more experience than all these other guys, you know, experiencing competition, experiencing like how I operate, how I expect him to perform in competition. Nick's best squat in prep is 246, but it was super high. It was like maybe 5 inches high. He thought he was good for it, and yeah, he just thought it was just a little bit high, but it was really high. So I was like, no, we're not probably gonna take anywhere near that. We'll probably shave off a handful of kilos there and just go for that maybe for the third. That's kind of what we looked at here. 240 for his third attempt. That is a 5 kilo PR. No, 15 kilo PR for him anyway. So a pretty big PR for the squats anyways. It's just that he hasn't competed in a while, I think. Um, so it was always going to be again like big PRs if you haven't competed in a while, but been training pretty hard. Yeah, just the main thing concern for me here was like, yeah, towards the end of his prep, he was starting to squat really really high. So yeah, normally when that happens, like a coach would just shave a few kilos depending on how bad it is, shave a few kilos, soft them to sink it a little bit deeper. It only kind of started happening really bad like towards the end of the prep there anyway. So makes this one goes 3 for 3. So again, like Nick's someone that he knows what is expected of him in competition. He knows um, how we call attempts. He knows all of that. So kind of not worried about that side of things for him. And when it comes to bench, this is kind of the one that I would say like he's been the most confident in from the very beginning. So here we are at 162. Basically, he's wanting to bench 180 at comp for a little while now. He just haven't had it, so we haven't put it in the bar. But in this comp, figured we'll give him a third attempt at it if things are looking like he's good for it. And as you see there, 162 moved pretty well. Like moved like he would be good for 180. So now we're thinking, okay, we gotta pace this guy. The pace for him, I believe, is 162 and then 172 and a half. So whenever I say 62, that's like 0.5, 62.5, and then 172 and a half, and then 180 for his third. So that being said, I pretty much basically gave a spoiler on like how this 172 and a half moved. So yeah, like again, like Nick's just someone that knows what is expected of him at this stage. If he performs, I get to put cool numbers on the bar, and if he doesn't perform or he doesn't move the weight as he should, then the number that he wants on the bar doesn't go on it, right? Like, so he wanted 180, so he knew that if he wanted 180 to go on the bar for his third, then he's gonna have to make the 172 and a half move convincingly enough that he gets 180. So big milestone for him here. Yeah, I think like the way this moved, he may have had 2.5 kilos extra, but when the lights come up, he has like one red light. So that's probably right on the money there. I think like maybe if we add a little bit more, he'll probably like get more than one red. Maybe I think that was yellow, so that'd be hips off or maybe feet, but most likely hips off there. So that's one. Actually don't have a video of his 215 deadlift here. This is just him setting up. I think that was for the bench press as well, but like, yeah, so we don't actually have a video of his 215. It's uneventful anyways for opener. So with Nick, his position in this competition was that he's kind of firmly in second place. With him firmly in second place, most of the time your attempts will be more defensive, especially towards the deadlift. For him, deadlift's not necessarily his forte. He opens at 215, so like knowing like he squats 240, like opening at 215 deadlift suggests that like you're not necessarily like the biggest deadlifter in the competition, which he's not. And then second attempt at 230 here. He actually has a little bit of a bet with one of the boys, well, two of the boys, about like who could deadlift more. But he competes first, so he has to set like a high enough deadlift for the boys to not be able to beat, basically. So 240 for his third. Again, pretty defensive pick here, mainly defending second place from Calvin, who's actually one of our boys too. So he actually walks away with a 15 kilo PB on the squat, 15 kilo PB on the bench, and a 7.5 kilo PB here on the deadlift. That's a 37.5 kilo PB on the total for Nick. Next one here is actually Calvin, who has who came third place to Nick. Calvin's had one competition under his belt. He is a student at Otago University, so he had a novice competition for Southern Powerlifting, which he did pretty well. But he chose to opt for Auckland Champs, register for Auckland because his folks live here, and it'd be a good opportunity for him to come up and compete here instead with like deeper level competition so that he can experience um, a little bit more excitement, so to speak, like competing with other boys that are of similar level to him, perhaps. In any case, he actually that 200 squat that just went. That's actually his second attempt. So Calvin missed his opener because he tumbled forward. One of the things that we've been dealing with Calvin as well is depth. Again, like transitioning a lot of these young guys into gym normies where they get, they can kind of get away with certain things like depth, um, uh, but transitioning them into competing. So trying to get him to sink a little bit more on those squats, just kind of tipped him forward on 200. Retook the opener. It was just too risky to go up at that stage. And then 215, so like 200, 215 jump there for Calvin. Not necessarily like a jump that I would do at this stage, but kind of had to do. It's either that, like a smaller jump, or like a smaller jump, which would mean we'd have to open heavy or open light but jump big, right? So uh, just preferred to open light there and jump big here for Calvin so we can get that depth in. His bench was, I think, the best he hit in this prep was 135. Oh no, 140 at the gym. But he needed to compete here. Lost some ground on the squats. He squatted like 230 at the gym, like really high. So 215 was like an underachievement, but being able to make that with depth is kind of like as much as we're gonna get for that day. Maybe more if he made this opener. So now we're kind of playing catch up here on the bench. So he goes 130 and 137 and a half on the bench there. That was okay. I thought 142 would be on the table there, just like a 2.5 kilo PB from training, but that was actually up and down for 142. So didn't get away with that, but still like pretty much PBs across the board here for Calvin. Next one here is more along the lines of like what he's more confident in, and his forte would be like the deadlifts. You can see like he's built like quite a long guy. He's pretty tall for 93, to be honest. And he knows that. He knows that. I tell him all the time that he needs to go up, even 2 comps deep. 252 and a half for his opener here. Yeah, the deadlifts are just like something that he could catch up with or like cover some ground with. It's just that Nick was too far. Number 1 was definitely too far. Believe that was Rafi. Yeah, Rafi's right there. So Rafi was number 1. He was just too far for both the boys. Calvin was just too far from Nick to. Nick was just too far from Calvin to chase, and someone was kind of chasing Calvin a little bit. Although the other young man that was chasing Calvin from 4th to 3rd, he probably was maybe 10 or so kilos off. That deadlift 265, that second attempt, just put it too far out of the reach for the other young man to chase Calvin, which he didn't, and then he missed his 3rd deadlift anyways, I think. And then Calvin goes for his 3rd deadlift here, just nothing meaningful in terms of placing or records or anything, just like a personal record. And nice milestone there, 5 red plates. 275. Yeah, like for a lot of these guys, like I said, it's about learning how to execute, learning how to compete, learning how to make lifts that are dictated by the competition. Now in this situation, obviously Calvin made some mistakes on the squats, and just lost maybe 2.5, maybe 5 on the bench. But those are the things that I like to expose my young guys. So in the future, they will be exposed to those kind of scenarios in the future. They'll be better off. Um, Ning did pretty much the exact same thing as Calvin there on the squats, which is miss his opener, tumbled forward, and then smoke his second. All right, that was 195 for his seconds. This is 205 for his third. But you'll see how this moves. You know that he left some kilos on the bar here. This should have been his second attempt at the very least. So 205. So that's a 2.5 kilo PR, but he probably had a lot more. Ning doesn't look it, but Ning is 16 years old. So Ning's like a pretty big kid for like a 16-year-old Chinese kid. And he's actually been very receptive. As soon as I said, "Yo, you need to go up a weight class," he's on it. He's eating, so that's good. He needs to fill out this class. He needs to, like, the powerlifting is a sport for big people. It's not a sport for skinny people, really. So I'm of that opinion, and Ning's kind of bought into that, and it's been eating, and he's been like using his age and to and obviously the hormones at his age to great effect because he's been eating and gaining muscle and gaining weight and training hard. So 2.5 kilo PB there on the squat, and then a 5 kilo PB there on the bench press. One thing Ning hasn't got quite down yet is execution in competition. He's missing lifts that are high percentage lifts, like so opener missed. For his bench press, he missed his second, which was 125, and then retook it for the third and made it look easy. So these are like the lessons that I'm just exposing some of these boys to. So again, like making lifts that are completely makeable. So 235 for his third attempt there, which would be a 7.5 kilo PR for him. He walks away with a 15 kilo PR on the total on the day, but left probably at least 15-20 kilos on the platform there. So again, like Ning's young. Ning's like maybe that'd be his fourth or fifth comp in. So a lot of lessons to be learned from an execution standpoint. He's doing most things right, from training, from eating, recovering as well as you could as a student, but just the game day needs a little bit more polishing, which is fine. Like I said, like he's 16, he'll have time to polish up. Anthony. So this is Anthony's second comp. He actually went 9 for 9 last novice comp. So for him, just like novice comp, he probably still at that level, novice comp level. But Anthony here, like, you know, want to lift with the boys, Auckland champs, and still a good opportunity for him to again like gain more experience. Last comp we kind of like undershot his squat by quite a bit. His last comp squat was like, I believe, 185, but he hit 207 there, and this last comp was just like 5 weeks away. So 22.5 kilo PR on the squat. Anthony doesn't bench good, as a lot of young boys that have just started lifting are like. Basically, he's like a 107 bencher for a big kid. That's not good, objectively speaking. So he's got some work to do. You can see he needs muscle. He needs like he's a guy that needs like a lot more physical development more than anything. But he's just started training, so give him time. We'll give him heat at the gym. You always tell him, you know, like, you gotta get bigger, you gotta get muscle, get muscle. It's just, again, like, it's a sport for muscular people, objectively speaking, and that's probably like his first priority, because that's the one that takes the longest amount of time to remedy or to achieve, is to gain adequate amount of muscle. Now deadlifts, this is one that he's more confident in. Last comp, his PB was 230. This is 227 for his second attempt. He is one of the boys that Nick had a bet with. So Nick hit 240. So he's going to try 242 here. He's got that stupid ass belt flick that he does. He thinks it's cool. No one else really does, but oh well, whatever. Anyways, 242 for his third here to beat Nick on that bit. Hits it, and that last bubble on the top blue lights, bang, lose the bet basically. So yeah, basically with the boys, again, like a mixture of like goals there. PRs, experience is the primary goal for all of these guys. Experience in competition, experience in taking attempts that's dictated by the competition. So you hear me say, you just gotta lift, you just gotta lift, or maybe the competition dictates, hey, you get to compete. Depends if someone's near your placing or not. Either way, up or down, you still want to practice, and you still want to foster the competitive spirit in some of these young fellas. So that's what we did here, and yeah, not bad showing for the boys.